back to the second day of the course on book distribution. Thanks for not giving up on us and not quitting after the first day. So, we have a few new guests who have joined us. That's wonderful. What did we hear about yesterday? Anyone remembers? What were some of the points? Yes?
We have to study Prabhupada's books.
We got to study Prabhupada's books. Like how often?
Every day.
Every day. How long? Every day? Minimum 1 hour. What's better? 2 hours. 2 hours. Okay. So, don't play with pens, otherwise pens get confiscated. Don't play with phones, otherwise phones get confiscated. So, everything okay there in the back? Alright. So, studying Prabhupada's books is not optional. It's actually a prerequisite. It's actually important. So, what we're going to do today is, after we review the day, Vijay Prabhu, Vijay Prabhu is going to address us in just a minute. And he's going to speak about how to actually dedicate your life to this process of book distribution, make it a lifelong mission. Yesterday we discussed about the character and the identity of a book distributor, and what are some of the components that are essential to build a strong foundation, like sadhana, reading, and honesty, long-term vision. What else? What else?
Good job.
Good job, yeah. Strong sadhana.
We should know why we are doing.
You should know why we're doing what we're doing. Something else you remember?
Like 50%, like it's important to be in the place for a correct place, and the other 50% to be very enthusiastic.
Enthusiasm, yes. Thank you. Devotee care, yes. Principles and values. Did you do your homework?
Yes.
Are you sure? Okay, some of you are thinking about it, some of you actually did it. Wonderful. So, today we're going to start and get into the actual gist of it, how to distribute Prabhupada's books. And I'm very happy to introduce an old friend and our Minister for Book Distribution, Vijay Prabhu, who's going to share his realizations of almost 40 years of this service. So, please, just sit where you prefer standing.
Hare Krishna. Om Yatvarana Sirakavantana Sadakya Chakshini Book distribution is a very ecstatic activity. Yes?
Yes.
Therefore, we have a book called The Nectar of Book Distribution. And in that book, there's many realizations of devotees' experience in the nectar of book distribution. One may question, well, why is it that so many devotees stop book distribution? That question might be there. But one thing is that to distribute books, one has to be very tolerant. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya said, therefore one has to be more tolerant in a tree. And Lord Nityananda, he exhibited this tolerance, being hit by Madai. So one has to be very tolerant to distribute books. So what do you have to tolerate? First we have to tolerate our own mind. This is the most difficult thing to tolerate. Our mind. The mind is left with so many ideas. When the mind gets disturbed, you might be on book distribution, you're trying to distribute, and you're having a tough time, and someone's kind of leaning towards taking the book, but then decides not to take the book, and you're already having a tough time, you get a little angry. Has that happened to you? Angry at the non-devotees? They're not cooperating. Cooperate away. So they're not cooperating, you get upset. So we have to, that's one of the austerities of book distribution, is we have to deal with people. And the people we're dealing with, they're all under the modes of material nature, right? Mostly passion and ignorance. And we're trying to convince them to take a book they've never heard of, and we're asking them to give them money as well. We're asking them quite a bit, quite a lot. So we have to tolerate that people aren't cooperating with us. So yeah, tolerance is a big part of book distribution. If you're not tolerant, it's very difficult to continue distributing books. In the Nectar of Devotion, it's said that one's greatness is estimated by how compassionate one is. This is one of the decorations of a devotee, is compassion. And also tolerance. This is a decoration of a devotee. Tolerance. So what else do we have to tolerate? I'll kind of open this up a little. What else do you have to tolerate? Yes?
The weather.
The weather, yeah. Some devotees are up there in the northern hemisphere, very cold. Very cold. I go to Russia, and devotees told me that it's so cold up there that you pour water and it's ice before it hits the ground. Cold. And they're distributing books. Of course, you got to dress yourself appropriately. So yeah, weather sometimes it's very hot. Here in India, it's very hot. Very difficult. Who distributes books here in India? Yeah. Very hot. Yeah. Gotta tolerate the heat, gotta tolerate the cold. The rain, sometimes it's raining. So, what else? Getting rejections. Yeah, we mentioned that, but yeah. We have to tolerate the rejections. And actually these rejections are good because they help us to develop this tolerance. And imagine if you went on a book distribution and every person you spoke to took a book and gave a donation. Be nice, wouldn't it? But there wouldn't be much austerity on our side. So book distribution is kind of like chutney. Chutney is supposed to be so sweet that you don't want to stop eating it. And it should be so hot that you can't eat it. So book distribution is so sweet that you just want to keep doing it, but it can be so hot, so difficult that you don't want to continue. It's a little bit like that. But yeah, so this, just like when people give a donation and take a book, we thank them. Yeah, we appreciate it. When people say no, we should also thank them because they're helping us to develop tolerance. Yeah. And who knows the golden rule of book distribution? Oh, everybody should know the golden rule. What's the golden rule?
Is it always leave everyone with a good impression.
Very good. For those of you that don't know, this is the golden rule of book distribution. Everyone we speak to, they walk away with a good impression, whether they take a book or they don't take a book. And to take that even further, everybody should walk away with a smile. Even if they don't take a book, they feel like they've met a very nice person. You want to hear a nice Vaiseshika Prabhu pastime?
Yes!
He's our, actually he's the real minister. I'm a fill-in. He was in Hawaii distributing books, and he approached one couple. And he was showing the book to them, and they were nice, but they said, no, thank you. We're Christians. We're not Christians. So Vaiseshika Prabhu said, well, I want to thank you anyway, because you're so nice and you've given me your valuable time, so I hope you have a wonderful day. And, thank you so much. And walked away. Came back a half hour later. They said, you know, you were so nice. We've changed our mind. We will take a book and we'll give you a donation. This is 5-star book distribution. And there's different stars, and we don't want to have a 1-star. The goal is 5-star. Everybody walk away with a good impression. So how to do that? You have to have very good sadhana. And who has the best sadhana in the world? I think would hands down be Vaiseshika Prabhu. I can't think of anybody that has the sadhana like that he has. And not only that, but he encourages so many others to have good sadhana. And just the other day I asked him, Vaiseshika Prabhu, did you ever have any exchange with Prabhupada? And he said, yes. Prabhupada said, read my books. So he really took that to heart. And not only did he take that to heart for himself, but he's got so many devotees absorbed in reading Prabhupada's books. So this is the key on developing good qualities and determination to stay on book distribution. It's not easy. Year after year after year after year. You have to have a taste. So that comes from good sadhana. Another thing that can make it difficult for you to continue distributing books is offenses. If we offend devotees or non-devotees, then we can lose our taste, not only for book distribution, but for Krishna consciousness in general. Therefore we have these 10 offenses. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Yukta Vishvuta, Vichitatma Jitendra, Sarvatatma Puta, Kurvanapi Nalipite. One who works with devotion, who is a pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone. Everyone is dear to him. Nice verse, I'm going to repeat that. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. So it's this devotion to Krishna. This is what keeps us connected. And just like here in Mayapur and temples all over the world, there's offerings that are given to the deities. Nice boga offerings and nice clothes are offered to them. Book distribution is also an offering to the Lord. Therefore, when I start book distribution, before I start, I ask Krishna, please, Krishna, accept this as an offering to you. And Krishna likes this offering of book distribution. Because he says, Yari Dega, no, Yayam Paramam Guyam, Mad Bhaktas Udavistri. that there's no one more dear to me than that person who is spreading these teachings of Bhagavad Gita, and there'll never be anyone more dear to me. So this is a very dear, a very pleasing offering to Krishna. So that's what it is. And we should make it a nice offering to Krishna. That means we go with compassion. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated, Tatikshaya karunya maitra chikila chandrusu samat enachisarvanam bhagavan sampasidati. Krishna says that anyone who approaches people with these four qualities is very, very dear to me. First one we've been speaking about, Tatikshaya, tolerance. Now if we're tolerant, then we can also become compassionate. Compassion is not an easy quality. Because we're born in this world, everyone's born in this world with hate. This is the statement of Krishna. So, compassion is just the opposite of envy. So this is something we have to really pray for. It's like if you want something, you pray. Man proposes, God disposes. So this is something we should pray for, compassion. And this movement all around the world is going on because of the compassion of Srila Prabhupada. So this is something we should pray for, compassion. And Krishna, he fulfills desire. You want compassion? Krishna will give you. So how to exhibit this compassion? Sometimes maybe on book distribution. And someone's interested, but they have no money. Give them the book. That's one way to show your compassion. That really touches the heart. No, Krishna will make up for it. That's one way to show our compassion. Another way is, although the weather may not be so good, you go out anyway. This is compassion. Titikshaya karunya maitra chikila chandrasu. Maitra chikila chandra means friendly to all living entities. In the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, many times Krishna mentions how he's pleased with those who are friendly to other living entities. So, very important to be friendly to everyone. And when we're friendly to everyone, people, they feel this good energy. And if you really get absorbed in this, in giving Krishna to others and trying to help them on this path, then you become very blissful. You become very, very happy. And when people see others that are happy, they naturally reciprocate. We've all had the experience that if you're enthusiastic, you're happy, and then people reciprocate much easier. People, it's very easy for them to reciprocate. But if you're kind of a little bit under the modes, we're not pure devotees, sometimes we're under the modes a little bit. And, the people don't reciprocate. That's not it. So, eventually, you've had the example yourself. You're out there, you're student devotion, and you're just so happy. And you're just smiling from one person to another. And so happy. I've had experiences some days where I'm just so happy. Student devotion, I'm just smiling all day. And my smile muscles start hurting. You know we have smile muscles. You got to massage. Sometimes you got to massage my mouth. It's a nice problem to have. Only on book distribution. before I joined the movement, I prayed to God, please allow me to do something that I'm happy doing. Because you know, there's a statistic that about 95% of the people in the world work at jobs they don't like. Imagine that. You're doing something all day you don't like to do. You know, they just do it to get, you know, a roof over their head and food on the table. But they don't want to do it. So it's very rare to have, for someone to have a job where they're working and they like to do it. But book distribution is like that. If we surrender, we have good sadhana, it's something that you won't want to stop doing. There's one devotee in Australia. I mentioned to him, yeah, we should just distribute books right into our 70s. You know, why not? You know, harm is it doing? He said 70s, 80s, 90s. It's like, wow, okay, he's fired up. We have devotees now that have been distributing books for 50 years. Not many. 5 decades. We're giving the nectar of book distribution. And this is very pleasing to the soul to give Krishna to others. And it's very pleasing to those who receive books. I had a nice experience recently in Australia, in Melbourne. I was given a class on book distribution. And while I was speaking, one young man, he raised his hand and he said, "You gave me a book 2 years ago." I said, "Oh, very nice." And now he's a bhakta in the temple. So it's always encouraging to see people that get books and then they become devotees. We're planting seeds, and we planted a lot of them. And the results are coming. Slowly. Kali Yuga. Can't expect too much. But people are coming. How many of you joined this movement because you received a book? Yeah. So it works. It's proven. It works. So we just have to keep on doing it. It's our family business. And it's a nice business. Prabhupada said I arranged this, what did he say, transcendental plot. So that people are able to get books, they benefit so much, they give Lakshmi, they support the movement. Transcendental plot. Everybody benefits. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to live our life, giving Krishna to others. And people need Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said the only lack in society is Krishna consciousness. People need Krishna, just like we need Krishna. We're realizing more and more we need Krishna. So everybody needs Krishna. So we're going out and distributing books, we're giving them the best thing. And therefore, we're their best friend. Of course, the best friend of everyone is Krishna. But we're their real friend. They think they have friends, but their friends are, getting them engaged in intoxication and, doing all nonsense. Going to movies. But we're giving them Krishna, so we're their friend. We're giving them an opportunity to come back to their natural position of serving Krishna. They're suffering. The Kalima Sasata, it's a place of suffering. People are suffering in this world like anything. And the only solution to all their problems is Krishna. Imagine there's a blind man walking down the street and he's deaf. He can't hear moving traffic, can't see anything. So he's walking towards moving traffic. any gentleman will stop him. Excuse me, sir, you're going toward moving traffic. Any gentleman would try to stop him, right? Even in some countries, if you don't, then it's a criminal offense. You can be charged in some countries. So people are blind. They're blind. They don't know what's good for them. They have no idea what's good for them, what's bad for them. They don't know what their future is. We're getting this knowledge by which we know that people that are sinful, they're going to see the Yamadutas. So, people don't know this. We have to give them this information, that they're eternal. They're part of Krishna, eternal servants of Krishna. And their goal in life is to serve Krishna. And if they don't, if they engage in sinful activities, they're going to see something worse than moving traffic. The Yamaduta. So we're helping them avoid such a great disaster in their life. The human form of life is so rare, and everybody's utilizing the human form of life and doing the same activities as the animals. So these books are instruction guides for the human form of life. And therefore Krishna, He's so kind, He gives us this knowledge. And Lord Chaitanya, He says, He says, I order everyone to accept this Krishna consciousness and distribute everywhere to everyone. He doesn't say this, there's an option. He says, I order. Agya means order. I order everyone to accept this Krishna consciousness and distribute it everywhere to everyone. And it's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Lord Chaitanya, this is the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And He and Lord Nityananda, they're the trunks of this tree. And there's many fruits that are coming from this tree. And He says that I am one person, how can I distribute all these fruits alone? I need help. So therefore He says, I order everyone, accept this Krishna consciousness and distribute these fruits. These are very valuable fruits. Fruits of love of God, these books. And they're tickets back to the spiritual world. Not only are they fruits that one can enjoy, but they're also tickets by which one can go back to the spiritual world. Very inexpensive tickets. Lord Chaitanya has come and he's slashed the prices. Very inexpensive. Go to the spiritual world. Small price. 100 rupees. $10, $5. So, we should try to dedicate. Prabhupada wanted devotees to dedicate their life to spreading Krishna consciousness. I mean, the karmas, they're dedicating their life to so many things. Sense gratification mainly. And we also have been dedicating our life for so many lifetimes for sense gratification. So why not give this one life to Krishna? For helping others, for helping the conditioned souls. Does that sound like a good plan?
Haribol!
That didn't sound very enthusiastic. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or comments? Anybody have? Yeah.
What's the role of our ashram that we take that will distribute our life from distribution?
Okay. Well, of course.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is there's different ashrams. So, which ashram is the best for book distribution?
Well, that's from China.
Well, actually, not necessarily. He said that's brahmacharya ashram. Depends on where you are. If you're in ISKCON, Silicon Valley, you're a householder, you can distribute a lot of books. Because by changing the movie, there's not one person lives in the temple. There's not one brahmacharya. It's the number 2 temple in the entire country, and it's all householders distributing books. But they, of course, they're not able to do full-time. Yeah, so for full-time book distribution, yeah, brahmacharya is you just give your whole life. So the householders there, this kind of Silicon Valley, they're distributing books, but most of the time is in working, they have families. But they have the monthly Sankirtan festival. Everybody here is aware of the monthly Sankirtan festival? Yes. Who is not aware of the monthly Sankirtan festival? Okay, good. So with that, he's just like amazing. Doing incredible book distribution. So of course, also we have sannyasis that are distributing books. Not many of them are allowed to travel, but Vanarpan. But the best is brahmacharya ashram. You just give you full time book distribution. Anything else? Yes?
You mentioned 4 qualities,
Oh yeah.
but I only heard 3.
Okay. Titikshava, tolerance, karunya, being friendly to everyone, and samadvena, just sarvatma, seeing everyone equally. Seeing everyone as a soul. And there's that amazing pastime of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish. Durvasa Muni, he went to Vaikuntha to be saved from the Sudarshan Chakra, following him on his back. So Lord Vishnu said that I am conquered, I'm controlled by devotees that are completely absorbed in me and see everyone equally. So this is a huge point. To see everyone as a spirit soul. And there's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita in this regard. Upadrishnana mantaja bharta bhokta maheshwara. No, that's another verse. Upadrishnana mantaja bharta bhokta maheshwara. Very nice verse. Sometimes the chant is a little rusty now, my verses. But sometimes I chant this verse like japa and that within this body there's another transcendental enjoyer who is the overseer and he's the permitter. He's the overseer and he's the permitter. So he's overseeing, he sees everyone equally more than anybody else, of course. But he sees the soul everywhere and he's the overseer, he sees everything. And he's the permitter. So if he sees that we're sincerely trying to distribute books, then he allows people to take books. He's the permitter. It's like sometimes we've had the experience that you're trying to distribute books and you might be thinking, I'm gonna get this guy to take a book. You know, you just kind of like determined. I'm gonna get this guy to take a book. You know, it's kind of becomes like a false ego thing. I'm going to force this guy to take a book, and then the guy feels this ego, and then he's also thinking he's not going to get me to take a book, so it becomes like a false ego clash. Instead of compassion, you just trying to force the person to take a book, but nothing happens without the sanction of Krishna. So we got to always remember this, and this is the mode of goodness. And like the businessmen, they're in the mode of passion. You know, they're working hard to get some result. Passionate. So we're also trying to work hard for Krishna, but a devotee, in mode of goodness, you understand Krishna is in control. We're enthusiastically trying, but at the same time, we have to understand Krishna is in control. No one's going to take a book without the sanction of Krishna. Right? Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank Vijay Prabhu for his dedication. That's your All right. Question 7? I don't think this is working. Can't hear it. Can you hear me? A little bit? More volume. All right. So you can see from book distribution, you develop many of these wonderful Vaishnava qualities. Did you notice how sober, how deep, how composed, how realized he is because of his dedication to Prabhupada's book distribution? Would you like to become like that?
Yes.
All right, just stick around for 40 years. All right, and don't fall asleep. If you're tired, stand up. If you're still tired, walk around. Okay, drink some water. All right, so what we're going to do starting from today is actually get into how to distribute Prabhupada's books. And the first thing that happens is what we discussed yesterday. All this foundational stuff, all the things that you can't see. Studying the books, chanting, working on yourself, developing your character. These are all things that have to happen before you actually go out onto the street. Because once you're out on the street, it's a little late for that. Sometimes you remember, did I finish my rounds? Did I read anything? By the way, did you attend Bhagavatam class today?
Yes.
How many of you attended Bhagavatam class today? Okay, almost everybody. Huh? But I'm still going to read you a verse from the Bhagavatam because I really like this section that I just read. And you want to hear it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It may change your life. This is 3rd Canto, 9th chapter, text number 30. O Brahma, this is Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma. O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. Report. The mercy of the Lord bestows upon a particular person engaged in executing the responsible work entrusted unto him is beyond imagination. But his mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance. Due to what?
Penance and perseverance.
Okay. In executing devotional service. Brahma was entrusted with the work of creating the planetary systems. The Lord instructed him that when he meditated, he would very easily know where and how the planetary systems must be arranged. You remember? Where and how? It's revealed by the Lord in the heart when we're sincere. The directions were to come from within, and there was no necessity for anxiety in that task. Such instructions of Buddha Yoga are directly imparted by the Lord from within, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Nanda, what's Bhagavad Gita 10.10? You can write that down. Your homework is to learn 10.10. Okay? Bhagavad Gita 10.10. It's easy to remember, right? 10.10. It's one of the Sankirtan verses. You have to know that verse because people will come up to you and ask you, what does it say there in your book? And you go, good. You know, just buy it, give me the money, right? No, it's not going to work like that. So, we're going to get into the actual process, the actual protocol of how to distribute books. When Prabhupada came to the West, who was the first person he met? The first person he met. When Srila Prabhupada came. Yes. No. The first person he met, he was on the Jaladuta in Boston Harbor, and he saw a boat from the Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard. And Prabhupada was on board of the Jaladuta, and he waved at the Coast Guard man. And the Coast Guard man waved at him, and Prabhupada was smiling at him. 4 years later, that person became a devotee. Wow. Later he took sannyas, Chavana Swami. So if people ask you, what are you doing in these 5 days in this seminar? You can tell them, I'm working on my glands. Okay? You're working on your glands. Because one glance can change the world. Do you know that this world was created by a glance? Mahavishnu glanced. That glance is Lord Shiva. Huh? Anyone taking part in Maharatri, the big festival? Huh? That glance is Lord Shiva. Creates the whole world. This universe will be destroyed by a glance. You can change people's lives by a glance. Your life can change by a glance. So you better watch out. And you better learn how to be in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you can get affected. So, how to develop this burning desire of actually being able to impact people's lives. How will that happen? One person once said that if you have nothing you're ready to die for, you have nothing to live for. What's your reason to live? Is it just breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or is there something more to it? Nowadays, we're in postmodernism. By the age of 20, any average person has already done and experienced pretty much everything that was there to experience from a material point of view. And what's the next 60 years of life? Boredom, hard work, and increase the volume on all of these activities. So people are pretty much done with material life by the time they're midway through college. Right, Parmeshwara? About second year of college, they pretty much already done all the stuff that was there to do. And they got that look on their face, kind of like, I'm bored, out of my mind. And do you have something for me? Is there something out there that's actually going to give me a different type of experience? And people are walking the streets of this world as we're speaking right now, looking for that positive alternative. The question is, where are we? Are we out there meeting these people and showing them the positive alternative? Are we convinced that Krishna consciousness is the positive alternative? Or do we still think, oh no, it's about other things, you know, we have to do other things? We can have so many festivals, so many melas, so many discussions, so much philosophy, but if all of that does not actually culminate in the realization that I'm here today because Prabhupada and Prabhupada's expansions were compassionate, they were merciful, they went out of their comfort zone, they extended themselves beyond the call of duty in order to reach me. And maybe I should try to do the same thing. Because just feeling good is not good enough. Just feeling great about yourself is not that great. Have you realized that? At some point when you see other people becoming affected by Krishna consciousness, when their lights go on, you know, like boom, and they're like illuminated like a Christmas tree. Because they got the buzz, they got touched by Lord Chaitanya's potency. That makes your heart very full, that makes you very satisfied, and that gives you that conviction, that strength, and that vigor that is required to push through the cold winters, through the hot summers, through the rain, through all the other adversities that are out there in life. So, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, our only technique is to be very devout followers of the rules and regulations. So we're following strictly. To strictly follow the easy process might be a little difficult, but it's well worth it. He also mentioned that the fact is that we have to adopt the same tactics as ordinary salesmen adopt. But the difference is we do it for the satisfaction of Krishna, and they do it for sense gratification. So the first thing that Prabhupada did, he glanced. He just looked at that person. Have you ever been walking or driving and somebody looked at you and you were just compelled, you had to look at them? You ever tried it out? You drive in a car and somebody's looking at you and you just, you know, you feel it. Okay, try it out. Look at somebody. Come on, work with me, people. Look at someone. Okay. Can you feel there's some energy coming through the eyes? Are you alive? Are you awake? I know some of you just stepped up, airplanes, 40-hour journeys. But there's some Shakti, there's some energy there. That's why people say, what you looking at? Huh? What you looking at? Stop looking at me. Because this is consciousness, this is the soul, this is the person who is looking through the eyes. It's very powerful. There's a lot of energy coming through the eyes. When people walk around in these big shades, they kind of, don't look at me, don't try to communicate to me. Nowadays we also have earphones in, they're completely plugged up. So, the first thing is when you approach people, there's three components to book distribution. It's approach, interaction, and closing the deal.
The last one I didn't heard.
Closing the deal. Approach means first, you look at people, and then there's different strategies. Some devotees like to talk to everybody that they meet. They just go up to every single person that they meet. And some devotees, they like to qualify and to pick out certain people. There's different strategies. There's no right or wrong. It's up to you. Some people work at a book table. You have to deal with whoever comes to you. Some people go door to door, shop to shop. They have to just deal with whoever comes there. So different scenarios. But these basic three categories are the same. When you approach people, it does help if you look at them. Because if you avoid them and you don't look at them, people will get annoyed. Have you ever been in a store or in a shop and people did not pay attention to you? Has it ever happened? You don't go shopping, right? You live in Brooklyn. But even there in Brooklyn, sometimes one boy, tries to avoid you, right? And it's annoying, right? And you go like, hey, you, I'm your boss. Okay? Look at me, right? You have to respond. It's the worst thing you can do, ignoring people. Ignorance, to ignore. It's heavy. So give people the attention that they require. In this way, they will actually feel, oh yeah, there's some energy, there's some reciprocation, there's a friendly face, there's a nice person, let me talk to this person. So what's the first thing people see when they see you? Yes.
How you do?
There's a Chinese saying, if you're not smiling, if you don't have a smile, don't open a shop or a restaurant. Because nobody will come. Nobody will want to see you. People have options. Do we have a monopoly on Bhagavad Gita? No. Do we have a monopoly on Bhakti? No. Why should people get Bhagavad Gita from you? They can get it online. They can buy it in the store. They can get it somewhere else. Why should they get it from you?
If they don't get the personal touch.
Because at other places they don't get the personal touch. What's that personal touch? The devotee. The devotee means blissful. The people take one look at you and they will decide, do I want to become like you or maybe not? And that's not something we can fake. So our first and foremost business is to chant Hare Krishna and be miserable, right? So your job is, before you walk out of your door, before you fall asleep, work with me, people. Before you walk out of the room, look in the mirror and ask yourself that pertinent question, would I like to meet this person? Have you ever asked yourself that? Really ask yourself, do I look good? How is my tilak? How is my dress? No, ask yourself this question. Would I like to meet this person? And if not, why not? And what can I change to improve my chances? Because most likely, you know, you have one moment. This morning I was reading the chapter in 3rd canto called Calculation of Time from the Atom. And an imesh is 8 parts of a 15th second. It's called a moment. You know how long an imesh is? Is as long as it takes to blink an eye. You just blink. You just blink. That's an imesh. That's as long as it takes. And if you're asleep, you will lose out. Because you have one moment to make that connection with the person. If you don't make that connection, they're gone. Have you noticed?
Yes.
And if you're not awake, if you're not conscious, if you're not Krishna conscious, you cannot capture that moment and connect with them. And if you let them slip away, they're gone. And then the next person is gone. And all of a sudden, everybody just passes by you. And you're just standing there thinking, oh, this is too difficult. I can't do this. Has this ever happened to you?
Yes.
Or is it just me? You just sit there and watch the traffic. And you go like, there you go. Another day in paradise, right? Until somebody comes walking up to you and they try to sell you something. You know? And then you're like, what's this? You know, I'm supposed to be the one who's supposed to give out stuff, but people are coming and they're hitting at me. Something's wrong here, right? Seriously. So get a grip on things and learn how to capture that moment. How do you learn how to capture that moment? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. By attentive and diligent japa. Because you learn how to listen, you learn how to focus, you learn how to connect, to capture that moment, to be attentive. If you master that art, if you work on that, perfecting that art, book distribution will come very natural. Because it's just an extension of your japa. It's just a continuation of your yajna. And it's a sacrifice. Yes, you have to sacrifice time, effort, dedication. It's not easy to be attentive, to give people that attention, but it's required. Otherwise people are like, hey, why should I talk to you? You don't even pay attention. Do people ever tell you that? No. Do you have any friends? Thanks for your honesty. You have to learn how to pay attention. So the first thing is you have to smile. What's the second thing? What's the second thing people see when they see you?
Sure.
Okay.
Grace.
First dress and then address, you know. If you're wearing strange clothes, people think, I'm not going to talk to this person. I don't want to be seen with this person, you know. You have to look fucked up, right? When you look nice, people think like, yeah, I want to talk to you. Can I take selfie with you? And you tell them, yeah, 100 rupees. You pay 100 rupees, you can take selfie and then you get the book. Okay? But if you don't look nice, people don't want to talk to you. And nowadays you can say it's unfortunate, it's external, it's something superfluous, but who are we to tell? If people have a certain mindset, can you change that mindset? No. Can you work with that mindset? Yes, you can work with that mindset. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, when he had the Britishers come here to Mayapur, he wore a frock. He wore leather padded shoes, a turban. He was riding in an automobile. He had servants in full dress and regalia. For whom? For his guests. Just to make them feel comfortable. Just to make them feel, oh, yes, we're meeting a dignitary. We're meeting a very important person. He had somebody cook meat and bring and serve them meat just so that they would pay attention to him. And the bodies got confused. The bodies got seriously confused. How can Gurudev do this? Serve me to these Britishers. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you know what he said? I was thinking exactly like you 100 lifetimes ago. 100 lifetimes ago, I was thinking exactly like him. But I have made up my mind that there is nothing I will not do to spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And because these Britishers had a good experience here, they opened a post office here in Mayapur, and they built this road. And they put Mayapur on the map. Because before, Mayapur was just a jungle. There's nothing here. But because they had a good experience, they did these two things. And things started developing. So sometimes, sacrifice is required. You have to sacrifice some of your, like for instance, you may be a brahmachari. Sometimes you meet a person, a lady, she wants to shake your hand. You shake her hand. What's the big deal? You give her a book. In India, it's not so much required. You can just hold your hands and, okay, sadhu, fine, everything's cool. But if you're in the West and you don't shake somebody's hand, people are sometimes seriously disturbed. They don't want to talk to you if you don't shake their hand. Or you don't greet them properly. So please wear a nice dress. And there's a saying that you should dress according to the taste of others, but you should eat according to your own taste. Because people have to look at your clothes, but the food, you have to taste it and it goes into your system, okay? So please dress appropriately. And what's the next thing people see? Shoes. Shoes, yes. In India, it's a different scenario. You can go barefoot, you can wear rubber, flip-flops, people don't mind. If you're in Australia, you're near the beach, you can walk around in a bathing suit, people don't mind. But if you're in the rest of the world, the civilized world, so to speak, and you walk around barefoot, if somebody comes up to you in Moscow, and he walks barefoot, would you talk to that person? No, right? You would not talk to the guy who comes to you wearing no shoes. It just, there's a sign outside. No shirt, no shoes, no service. They don't even want you in their establishment. So these are things to keep in mind before going out and addressing the public. But number one is really attitude. Attitude is what really makes a difference. Because sometimes you may be looking nice, you may be talking so-called smart, but if your attitude is not nice, then people will sense it immediately. You know what attitude is? No? Did you ever have a bad attitude? Yes. You're in a bad mood, and then you went out, and that bad mood got aggravated, it went from bad to worse, and you met other people who were also not in such a great mood, and those moods kind of collided. It can happen, right? So our first and foremost duty is to chant Hare Krishna and be happy. One time we were in Harinam in Santa Monica, promenade, and there was a big group of LA devotees there chanting and dancing, and there was an old lady on the opposite. And she was watching for about 15 minutes. She was watching the devotees. And after that time, she came over and she asked, "Dear son, are you taking drugs?" I said, "No." She said, "Really? That's really sad. Because I was ready to buy whatever it is that you're taking." The old lady, He seriously said, "I'm ready to, whatever you want, I want the same thing." When people meet you, they should only have one question, and one question in their mind. How can I become like you? Sometimes they're like, "Can I take you home? Like you're nice, I really want to spend time with you." And the devotee usually says, "That's not really practical, because I got work to do here, I'm busy. But you can take this book home, and that'll be even better, because I became like this because I read these books." You see, that is book distribution. That is preaching. So, in the approach part, there's a few things that we're going to do. And till this warms up, are there any questions so far? Yes?
You're talking so much about the approach, how to have a good attitude, and
Yeah.
be really attentive and sharp, but maybe because I'm not as pure or I have so many advances, it's very hard to do that every day consistently. Maybe some days will be on it, some days will be very low, but you still have to go out, even if you're not feeling so up to it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Thank you for your honesty. So he was asking that we're talking a lot about good attitude, but some days you're better, some days you're worse. And how do you go on doing this service, even though sometimes you're not up to the mark? No airplane flies from point A to point B in a direct straight line. There's constant course corrections going on. Constant course corrections. You may not notice it as a passenger, but it's constant course corrections. In a similar way, when you go on book distribution, if you're focused on your goal, even though you may get a little distracted and a little diverted sometimes, if you just keep on going in the right direction, eventually you will reach your goal. Does that help? So just keep on doing what you're doing, and you'll just fine. The problem comes when we stop. The problem comes when there's a breakdown, where we think like, oh no, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. You know, 5 people in a row said no. Does this ever happen to you? Huh? You know, and there's certain things you can do about that. For instance, when I go out and the first person who I meet gives me a big donation immediately, I'm like, whoa, it's going to be a tough day today, right? Parham is laughing, right? You know, okay, it's going to be a tough day today because it just came easy. It just started real easy. It's going to be hard. But if the first few people are like, no, 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 then you're like, wow, this is going to be great. This is going to be a wonderful day. Bring it on. So there's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So are you man or are you mouse? You know, are you ready to push and persevere? Or you become discouraged very easily? My spiritual master told me I should go to San Francisco. I asked him, what should I do there? He said, just walk the streets and struggle for Krishna. Just walk the streets and struggle for Krishna. I said, yes, I can do that. That's possible. I like that, you know? And you know what? That's what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada went to New York and he didn't know whether to turn left or right. He said, I was loitering. I was just walking the city. And any person that he met, he started talking to them. You know Hayagriva, Howard Wheeler? He met Prabhupada in the East Village. And so Hayagriva went up to Prabhupada and asked him, so are you from India? And Prabhupada said, yes. And Prabhupada asked him, are you? And he said, no, I'm from here. And what do you do? He said, I'm an English professor. So Prabhupada asked him, so can you edit? And it's like, you know, asking Nanda, can you play the mridanga? Of course, I've been doing this since I'm born, right? This is just normal for me. It's not complicated. So he said, okay, can you come with me? I have something I would like you to edit. And he came to Prabhupada's apartment. And he thought he's going to give me a little pamphlet, a brochure, an article, a magazine or something. Prabhupada handed him 1,000-page manuscript. You start with this, okay? And then he opened a trunk, you know these big metal trunks? And there were stacks of manuscripts. He said, when you're finished with this, then you continue with this. This is the first meeting, the first encounter that he had. I agree, but didn't say, hey, you know, I'm your disciple, you know, I'm a soul surrendered unto you, give me my life's mission. Nothing! When Prabhupada walked into the assembly of his Guru Maharaj, just while bowing down, his Guru Maharaj gave him his lifetime instruction. He told him, you're intelligent, young man, you should spread this message in the English language all over the world. It will be good for you and it will be good for others. Just the first moment when they met, first time, He got his lifetime mission. It's very precious to get a mission, because you can see who has a mission in life and who has not. Now is the festival time. There's a lot of people drifting around. Have you noticed? A lot of people wandering. You can immediately notice who has a mission and who doesn't. Can you notice? Can you make it out? Some people are just wandering around, you know. And some people, they have a mission. They have places to go and service to do. So, if you are wondering still, what is my mission? What is my role? What is I'm supposed to be doing? Well, ask your spiritual master. Ask your authority. You're supposed to have a mission in life. Otherwise, it makes it very difficult. And people can sense it. They can sense it immediately. So, let's see. You should actually plug it in. That's a good idea. Let's see if this works. Okay. So we spoke about the three basic categories: approach and opening. And honestly speaking, whatever can go wrong, at least 40% goes wrong here. Oftentimes it's over before you even started. How many of you have trouble stopping people? How many of you have trouble speaking to people and getting their attention? Okay, majority. Interaction, how to present the Bhagavad Gita. We'll get to that a little later on today. How to distribute the Bhagavad Gita on its own merit. Is that a problem for any of you? Not really. Maybe some. Okay, that's like 20%. How many of you have a problem closing the deal and getting Lakshmi? Money is a problem? Okay, all right. You have to let the doctor know, you know, otherwise. So, we're going to focus on all these three. These are the three components. So in approach, what's happening in approach and opening is you have to draw people's attention by using eye contact, gesture, and speech. We talked about eye contact, right? So, you can either just look at the birds, or you can actually look at people. And once you look at people, you get their attention. So, but you don't stare them down. It's not like, because it's a little intimidating, you know, it's not so nice, it's not so polite. So you just look at people and you let them know, hey, I saw you, and I know you saw me. So, you know, okay. And then you make a gesture, like, hello, like this, you know, like you make a gesture, you make some movement, you know, like here you make pranams, right? And immediately you can see when you make pranams, what do people do? They also make pranams. It's natural. It just comes as a natural reflex, so to speak. And you do that before you start speaking. Because if I immediately just, you know, walk up to some stranger and just start talking to them, then they're like, you know, hey, who are you? You know, like, what's up? What do you want? You know, what's your problem? But if you already looked at them, you smiled at them, you made a gesture, and then you start talking, then they're like, okay, yeah, we got something going here, you know? So, it's a sequence. And then you start speaking. Any questions on this? Yes?
So in
You
place,
have microphone.
for example, the busiest street of town where we distribute books, and there's 10 to 12 devotees
Yes.
on the same street distributing books, and everyone has the same approach. So people kind of know what you're trying to do there, so it's just, sometimes I find that approach not working either.
You know rugby?
Yes.
You know the tackle?
Yes.
You can just line up your 10 book distributors, and you should wear these t-shirts where it says, don't let anyone escape. And you're just going to go and tackle everybody. Maybe you could spread out around the city and not go all 10 people on the same street? Just as an option. I know you're kind of fixated and conditioned that this is the way how we've been doing this, but I'm just giving you some ideas, you know, that why not put half of the team in different locations and let
There's
only...
already have to be on different locations. And I'm going to be on that street as well.
So, you're going to speak into the mic, otherwise people are here.
So there is still majority of devotees around the block, and there's still some devotees still alive.
That's not a problem, you know, I love distributing with a lot of distributors. Sometimes we do festivals or music concerts and there's like 5, 10, 15, sometimes 30 devotees out in the same place. But what you have to be aware of is that this person may already have been approached by other people. You have to take that into consideration. So you don't go with the same type of, you know, approach onto the person, but you have to be a little bit gentle and know that probably somebody already spoke to them. And then it should not be a problem. Yes, in the back.
I found a way to do this at work tour.
Yeah.
Because by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock at the end of the work tour, most people have seen the books.
So
I just say, without coming at them with a whole spew, as they say, you just say, hey, or you compliment them, your hand up, hey, did you get one of these yet? Or did you get one yet? And then that way it's like, they can just say yes or no, basically.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. And it's not so, it won't fry them out. I found it won't fry them out.
So you qualify the prospect by asking a question. Have you seen this before? Can you do that? And some people will say yes, and then you say very nice, and they just walk on. And a lot of people will say no. Then you say, oh, check it out, have a look. It's very simple. So, if you go fishing, what do you have to do when you go fishing? No, you don't need these, but what do you have to have when you go fishing? You gotta have your fishing rod, you gotta have bait, what else you have to have? The line? Hooks, yes! Just one hook?
You can have more than one hook.
You gotta have many hooks. You ever seen guys going fishing?
Yeah, they got lots of hooks.
They have a whole box, you know? Like where I live, I'm like 5 minutes from the ocean. Pacifica, right there, you know? San Francisco. So, the guys, they go with like a toolkit this big, with all different types of hooks. So, I'm gonna teach you how to use the hook. Because some of you may have problem catching the attention of people, getting people to stop, getting people to interact with you. So you want to hook them, right? What's the best way how to hook people?
Question.
Yes, because a question mark looks like a hook. Have you noticed? This is like a hook. So how to use the best possible questions? It's called Become a Master Asker. So they are open and closed-ended questions. Open-ended question is, how are you doing?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, we don't speak English. Okay, I understand. So you just say yes or no. But usually if you ask how you doing, the person is forced to start talking, right? How's it going? How is things? This is all like open-ended, which means basically you can say anything and you can just take it from there. It's just to break the ice. An example of a closed-ended question would be, do you want to buy this? Thank you. I knew it. You're a demon? Okay. Next one. You only use closed-ended questions in 2 scenarios. One is, if you're absolutely sure you will get a positive response. Like for instance, I tell people, We're showing these today to all the nice people.
Oh, wow.
Are you a nice person?
Yes, I am.
I knew it. Use the other option. We're showing these today to. You gotta speak in the mic. We're showing these today to all the nice people. Are you a nice person?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, I knew it. Okay, you're qualified. Okay, the third option. We're showing this today to all the nice people. Are you a nice person?
No.
Oh, very nice. But he's smiling, you see. Even if he says no, if he's smiling, it's okay. It's good. You can keep going.
Yeah.
If the person smiles, you can keep going. If the person doesn't smile, you're going to slow down. Okay? Remember that. Yes.
Well, when someone says no, I usually say, oh, high five me either.
High five me neither. There's a million, responses that you can use. So, like, I ask people the question, the very simple question, where are you from? Have you ever heard this question? Yes. Where are you from? No, Russia? No, Oklahoma. I don't know where that is, but you look like a nice guy. So, everybody loves to talk about themselves. If you give them a chance to talk about themselves, where they're from, what they do, what they work, etc., they will love you. Just give people the chance to talk about themselves. So, where are you from? And then people say, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then my response is, that's where all the nice people live, right? Right, yes, I knew it. Huh? So, say something nice. Say something nice. And the person will appreciate it. Confirmed. I was in Moscow airport, Sheremetyevo. I had one Ishopanishad left. I wanted to distribute it before I fly out because I thought, people take so much effort, or they used to bring books into Russia. I'm not going to take this book out of Russia. This book has to stay here in Russia. So I'm wandering around the airport. It's almost boarding time for my flight. And I'm thinking, who will take this Ishopanishad? And I'm wondering. I see a young, bright-looking person. And I'm asking him, hey, where are you from? And he says, Pakistan. Now I have two different choices, right? I could go, Pakistan. Which would really increase my chances of giving him a book, right? That would make him feel really great, right? No. I said, Pakistan! That's great! Where? Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. He said Islamabad. I said, wonderful, that's great! You know? Of course I know. And then I gave him the book. And Ishopanishad, there is Mahavishnu, So, Shesh, Ananta Shesh, all that. You open it up, it's Sanskrit. I show him the book. I explain the book to him. Without blinking an eyelid, he gives me a good donation. And at the end, just before walking away, I asked him, aren't you supposed to be Muslim? Aren't you supposed? He said, look, I'm a scientist, I know this is ancient stuff. This is good stuff, I think for myself. I make up my own mind. Because I was treating him like a cultured, dignified person, so he actually was, believe it or not. So give people the benefit of the doubt that they're nice people. Even if they may not be. Lord Nityananda, he treated Jagai and Madai like they were decent, nice people. And eventually they became. Why? Because of his compassion, his tolerance, and because of his positive attitude. As book distributors, you have to have positive attitude. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt, even if they don't deserve it. You have to treat everybody like a gentleman or a lady. And believe it or not, the majority of them will. Because initially, inherently, Nitya Sila Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabunoi, Shravana Deshuddhachita, Koryodoi. It's simply an uncovering process. A little bit of rubbing, a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of Sankirtan, and this person will come out shining. That's all it takes, is a little bit of yajna. It's a sacrifice. When the sages did their sacrifice, anyway, we're not going there now, but it's an austerity. You've done yajnas, right? You have to carry things. Samitpani shrotrem brahmanishtam tadvigyanartam sagarumeva vyachchet. Samitpani shrotrem brahmanishtam. That if you want to achieve positive result, you have to perform yajna. What's the yajna for this age? Sankirtan yajna. In former ages, they would do fire sacrifice, and they had to carry the wood. Have you ever carried wood? Yes, you look like carry a lot of wood. So, this age, the yajna is Sankirtan yajna. So what are we carrying? Books. What are books made from? Wood. So we're carrying wood. Huh? For what? To please Guru by this act of sacrifice, by this yajna. And in this way, we'll actually be able to connect with the message, what's in here. Because without yajna, you won't get it. You won't understand what's going on. You just turn the pages and you think, yeah, I read something, but what did I read and what does it mean? I don't remember. I read something fantastic this morning in the 3rd canto before Mangal Arati. By the way, anybody got up early today and started reading a little bit? How did it feel? It's alright? It's okay? It's quite good, right? I read something spectacular. Would you like to know?
Yes.
At the end of the chapter, Krishna says, if you are not on the bodily platform, the bodily consciousness, you can actually conquer time. Prabhupada says, Brahma lives less than a second. Lord Brahma lives less than a second. 1 second. Brahma lives less than a second. But if you are not in the bodily concept of life, you can conquer time. I found that very inspiring, very encouraging. Because sometimes it feels like time is passing and I'm not going anywhere. It's not really happening. Things are not really moving forward. So if we come to the Krishna conscious platform, we can actually overcome time. So work with questions. Work on accumulating more and more hooks, more and more questions that you can use. According to different cultural demographics, there are different questions which are appropriate. In Bangladesh, what kind of question you ask people? Microphone. What do you ask people?
What are you doing?
What's your job?
Student.
What's your job? Where are you from? Okay. Like that, same. Any other questions? What kind of questions are you using? How are you guys doing?
We're speaking to all the nice people, nice people.
Nice people, okay. What else? You have a mic right there in front of you. You pass it back.
How was your day?
How was your day? That's very nice. Any questions?
What did you wear your shirt?
I like your shirt, yeah. In some places it's appropriate. You can actually talk to people about their dress. You can make them compliments about the way they're dressed, about their car, about other things, but you have to know what's appropriate.
Is it possible to buy happiness? And why everyone is working so hard in Switzerland?
Okay, why is everybody working so hard? So you say something that people can relate to. Parmeshwar.
Have you ever meditated with a kangaroo?
Have you ever
Meditated with a kangaroo?
meditated with a kangaroo?
That works in New York City.
That works. New York City. It's something that kind of just makes their mind go blank, right? And they just stop.
Are you a student here? If you're on the university,
Yeah.
just ask them if they're a student.
which is kind of a joke because you're on a university campus, and obviously they're either students, staff, or, you know, but most of them, the younger ones, they're
The
students.
funny thing is, hardly any of them really get the joke. It's
Hardly,
they
hardly.
just, oh yeah, I'm a student.
Oh yeah, I'm a student. Okay, you're qualified.
Like-
We're showing these today for all the people.
Yeah, I'm a student. Like they're not the only, like they're the only ones. Like I found the one student on campus.
Okay, what are other hooks? What are other questions that you can use?
What is your secret for happiness?
What's your secret for happiness? You ask them something personal, you know, and they may or may not like to respond, but oftentimes they will, because they see that you're actually appreciating them. One line I'm using now very often is yoga or meditation. You know, this or that, this or that, this or that, because the mind likes different options. Huh? Sometimes I give them 3 options. Are you a yogi, a rock star, or a regular loser? It doesn't matter what you say. If it gets them to think and smile and connect, just make up your own stuff. Whatever is appropriate to the occasion. Sometimes I used to use this Indian joke, you know, are you happy or happy happy? Because in India they don't say very happy, they say happy happy. You say the same word twice, right? So are you happy or are you happy happy? Whatever gets people to stop, to smile, and to capture their attention. Okay? So work on your toolbox. This is your homework till tomorrow. You walk up to 50 people, and you just try to stop to them and talk to them and capture their attention. Can you do that? Huh? 5 people, okay? Just walk up to 5 strangers and strike up a conversation. Is it difficult? It's not difficult. It's very easy. Especially here in Mayapur. Any other questions in regards to opening and...
I just had a question. Okay.
We need the mic here because it's being broadcasted and people will hear.
Okay. At least in America, sometimes when I'm approaching people, like on school campuses, they have this, it feels like they have this already preconceived notion in their mind that I'm trying to sell them something, or maybe I'm some religious guy trying to push my religion on them. So they're automatically like hesitant on interacting with me.
1 second. You'll let this guy out here. Okay. You see, a lot of the fears that are out there are projected by us. You know, if you're not afraid, because there's super soul in the heart of that bee, you know. So if you're not afraid, it's not going to sting you. And if you're frightful, then a lot of times people will sense that and they will actually attack. So people do have a certain sense of fear or insecurity, but if you are very astute, if you're very convinced of what you're doing, it doesn't become really difficult. Don't you find there's a difference that when you are in a more assertive mood, like they come sometimes and ask, you know, are you supposed to be here? You know, are you allowed to do this? Absolutely. You have a permission? Or you have an authorization to do this? Yeah, absolutely. You know, like even you present people a book, and at the end, before they give you the money, usually they look at you again, right? Like, are you trying to bullshit me? Like, are you trying to cheat me or something? Or is this for real? Right? Isn't it like that? At the end, kind of before they take out the money, they look at you one more time, just like, is it real? Or are you just joking, right? You're just making up stuff here. No, it's real. But the question is, are we convinced? The Prabhupada had the first GBC meeting here in Mayapur, in the Lotus building. He had all the GBCs there. And everybody thought now Prabhupada is going to make a big speech, he's going to address us and talk to us. Prabhupada simply asked them one question. Are you convinced? And people are like, what's he talking about? I mean, we're here, we're in Mayapur, you know, like we're devotees, we're chanting Hare Krishna. We're sannyasis, we're GBCs, you know. The Prabhupada was dead serious. Are you convinced? Because the basic simple point is if you're not convinced, how can you convince anyone else? That's why we're focusing so much on sadhana, on study, on japa, on good Vaishnava relationships. Because all these things will help us to be nourished, nurtured, and to be convinced. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe, Sudrida Nishchoy, Sarva Karma, what's the end? Krishna Bhakti, yes. That's the part. Yeah. That's required. And where does that conviction come from? To be convinced that this is the most important activity, this is the best usage of my time, and this is the best thing for this person right now, to take this book and to give a donation. Are you convinced of that? Yes. Not so sure, right? No, you should be convinced. Because if a person reads one line, if a person reads one word of these books, their life can change. And they have seen it. And they have seen it. We'll continue after the break. 12:20. Time for Gayatri break. And then we'll get more into the action. Okay? See you in 15 minutes. Talking to people, right? We got a question from Parameshwar Prabhu.
Yeah. On this stopping people thing, generally I think that works great, but how do you get a really passionate situation like
New York City, for instance, downtown?
Really place,
yes, okay. So what do? I've been all over the world a few times, and I'm quite used to this big city scenario. I take people who are already standing somewhere, call them, it's a sitting duck, It's not so difficult to spot a sitting duck. If you want to hit a bird that's moving fast, it's very difficult. But just take people already standing. Like for instance, where would you find people standing? Bus stop, train station.
Crosswalk.
Crosswalk, yeah, there's a red light, people have to stop, right? Where else?
Eating places.
Where they eat, yes. Another good spot is the ATM. So, I do not like to use 80% of my energy just to stop people. It's just too much effort. I just don't like it, So, be smart. I know some devotees, they just want to get into the middle of the busiest street of the city and they want to feel alive, like riding those waves, But the problem is, you have to practically carry a harpoon and a pickaxe, and hit them right between the eyes. Because otherwise, it's going to be very hard to get them to stop. Of course, you can just put out the hooks, and I've seen that too. Sometimes what devotees do is, they just hold out hooks like that, and they wait till some hand comes out. That's another strategy. I don't like it so much personally, because it's just not my style. But if it works for you, so even in a busy city, go to intersections where there's crosswalks. There's the main street in town, but then there is side streets to the main street. Work the side streets. Take one parallel to the main street. It's still busy. There's enough people, but it's not like maddening busy. And you don't have all these people who are trying to sell stuff and collect for charities and talk to people and the beggars and all the other stuff that's going on. So just walk around the block. Have you noticed how sometimes just walking like 20 yards makes a whole different perspective in life? Like, just imagine, all of a sudden you come here And you just, it's a different room. It's a different world. It's a different ball game. But oftentimes we don't do that. Why? Because we're stuck. We were again in Santa Monica doing Harinam, and believe it or not, the Harinam stopped in front of Victoria's Secret, you know, selling women underwear. And nobody stopped. People were busy with other things. And I told the Harinam leader, can we move on? You know, this is really not happening. And he said, Prabhu, we've been stuck in here for the last 30 years. And I said, if the horse is dead, just get off of it and, you know, move somewhere else. But he said, no, we've been doing this forever and we're going to continue doing this. So, as a book distributor, you have to have a sense of reality. If it's not happening, move on. If it's not working, change your strategy. Just turn around, walk around the block, change your lines, you know, wear a different hat. Just put on a different shirt, do something different. And you will notice how all of a sudden people start paying notice. People start paying attention. People start actually interacting with you. We cannot afford to be stuck in a paradigm. If you're supposed to be a preacher or book distributor, you have to adapt to your habitat, to your environment. So, that being said, there are ways and means how you can stop busy people. Like one of them is by intensive sadhana. When your japa is really sharp, you just say hello, and 5 people start looking at you, you know? Because your words, you know Dhruva? Think Dhruva. Dhruva Maharaj? 5-year-old, small kid. He was in Madhuban, Vrindavan, standing on one foot, you know, like this. And he was chanting, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 5-year-old kid. How heavy is a 5-year-old kid? You can carry about 4 of them, right? 2 on each side. Okay? Dhruva became so heavy by the practice of his mantra that the whole world was starting to suffocate. The earth planet was starting to lose its rotation, and all the demigods went to Brahma, and they went to Vishnu, and they said, he's your boy, you go fix the problem. He's causing trouble. So when you chant your japa tomorrow, think Dhruva, okay? Think, I want to develop this sense of gravity. In martial arts, it's all about framework, right? You have to have framework. You have to be positioned very strongly. If you're not, anything can tip you over. Anything can make you fall. If we're not strongly rooted in our sadhana, in our japa, in our study, anything can trip us over. One person can come up to us and say, go get a job. And we're like, but if you're in Krishna consciousness, you're like, go get a job. I'm like, hey, I love you too, brother, you know? Like, I like you. This is really nice, you know? Anything else nice you'd like to tell me? You know? And then the person goes like, hey, I just said something not so nice, you know? And you're so happy. Like, how come? How come can you be so sure of what you do? Sometimes people will insult you. Sometimes they will insult you in a bad way. Sometimes they will insult you with nice words. But if you just take it, sometimes people will attack you. They want to hit you verbally or physically. If you're able to stay cool, it really touches people's hearts. Like we hear about Jagai Madai, and we practically get moved, you know, to tears, because he just took it. And he changed their hearts. If you want to take the tough nuts and be in New York City or in London on Oxford Street riding the ox, you have to learn how to adapt and how to be brave and how to be deep in your bhajan and how not to get disturbed if people are dismissive or if people are a little aggressive. And if you just project kindness and compassion and you're just persistent and diligent. I had one lady, it was rush hour traffic in Chicago, So she looked at it and she said, what do people give? I said, sometimes they punch me and sometimes they give me $100. And she said, okay, I'll give you $100. And she gave me $100 and walked away to the door. You know, it was kind of like a tough day, you know. So I said, so what? You know, let's try. Huh? But you have to be ready to be detached. It's not my call. Whether they take it or not, it's not up to me. And people can sense it if you have an agenda. If you're attached and you want to give them something, people sense it, they feel it immediately, and they will be repulsed. They'll go the other way. So we have to genuinely be detached. How can you be detached? Question. How can you be detached in life? Read the Gita, understand the philosophy. Yes, I'm a spirit soul. I'm eternal.
Don't be attached to your result.
Don't be attached to your result. And no one can hurt me but myself. Nobody can actually do any harm to me. I'm an eternal, blissful spirit soul who is full of knowledge. So, if you are the prince of Saudi Arabia, do you have a money problem? No. You have a problem with fame, you have a problem with women, you don't have a problem like that. And if you go out, you can just be generous. So we should be generous. We should just go out to distribute all the gifts that we like to share with the people. Just put on that mindset, you know. Minus the attitude. Okay, I'm the Prince of Saudi Arabia. I'm just going out to distribute gifts to my people. Is that a good mindset? Yeah, that is a very attractive mindset. And people will realize, wow, this person just wants to give, you know. And that's attractive. Why is renunciation one of the 6 opulences of Krishna? Because he's the most detached. And you know what? Krishna has got all the girls. You know why? Because he's the most detached. All the ones out there who are chasing something or somebody, that's not attractive. That's repulsive. But because Krishna is Swarat, he is independent, he's self-sufficient, he only takes pleasure in his own self. He doesn't need anyone or anything. That's why Krishna is the all-attractive. So if we also want to become successful in life, we have to learn how to emulate and to come to a level of contentment in our own spiritual practice where we're like, I don't want anything from you. I'm not teaching this course because I need people to sit there and pay attention to me. I don't need anything from anyone except Krishna's mercy, except Guru's pleasure. That's the only thing I want. And that's achievable through sacrifice, through yoga. So with that attitude, you can penetrate. But getting back to the opening, it's a similar scenario. When you have nuts, have you ever tried to crack nuts?
Yes.
You know? Yeah. So, and some are just a little difficult, right? Some are a little hard. So you put them aside. I mean, you can take out the hammer, but then it becomes a mess. So if people are a little difficult, just let them go by. Just let them pass. And take the ones which are a little easier. And there are many of those too. But if you're in the business district, it's rush hour, there's only suits. What I would say is, change scenario. Just go to a different spot. When I came to the US in 1991, the devotee said, let's go on book distribution. I said, fantastic, that's what I'm here for, let's go do it. Where are we going? We're going to the airport. I said, airport? Yeah, they went to the airport. And people were stressed out, people were anxious, people were not really in a good mood. And they knew us. And they knew we were coming. So I told them, why don't you go door to door? Why don't you go to the colleges? And they said, no, we did the airports. We're going to do the airports. I said, what, for the next 10,000 years? Well, there's no more petrol. Well, there's no more planes. You still going to drive out to the airport? And now, today, devotees are going on college campuses. Devotees are going door to door. Devotees are going to so many places. And they're meeting people who are interested, who are nice, who are open, who are relaxed. So if something is not conducive, if you don't like a certain environment, just find a different environment. And that's true not just for Sankirtan, that's also true for, wherever you happen to be. And if you don't like your own attitude, your own life, your own self, you want to have a little change of scenery, then just connect with the Srimad Bhagavatam and the holy names and become your better self. And then whatever is challenging and difficult, with a little effort, it becomes tolerable. But otherwise, it's hard. And you also have to know how much of it you can take. Like, you have to know how long you can be in that situation. So it's good to have a mix, not to always be in the same place, in the same scenario. Not everybody's like Vijay Prabhu. He distributed books in LAX for about 20-something years in a little spot. And he went there every single day and gave out a box of Bhagavad Gita's. Because he's a saint, you know. He's not looking to get anything from the world. He just lives for service. But for those of us who still need a little reciprocation and they're looking for a little bit of confirmation, just mix it up. Go to different spots, and in this way it'll be easier. You have another? Does that help?
Yeah.
I had the same point, and I just wanted to add a little to that scenario, because I usually go around in that time when the suit people are out, people in suits and stuff. So sometimes I try to mix my approach. What I do is like, because at this point when they're looking for lunch, they're like rushing through the lunchtime, like rush hours, and the questions are out because they will not listen, they will not pay attention, and you don't have enough time to just say like this.
Do you talk to anybody when you're on your way to lunch? No. Okay, so then why do you expect other people to talk to you? It's just not sensible.
Yeah. So sometimes what I do is I try to mix up the approaches, just try to surprise them. Like I say, whoa, and they just stop and go, oh, what, my shoes, and they just stop and I start having a chat. Work sometimes, but
yeah, but how long can you play the trick game, you know? Like you're not working in a circus. After a while it becomes a little redundant. How long time can you say the same thing over and over and over and over and over, you know? Like, there has to be some variety, there has to be some ras, right? You have to have some taste in the interaction. So find other means how to do it. Why not go door to door? Why not go business to business? Tomorrow we're going to speak about different ways and styles and difference. Now, we'll just go through the different components of the approach. And this is something that is often overlooked, that present the book as soon as possible after greeting the person. Have you ever seen a devotee who just held the books and was talking and talking and talking and talking and talking some more, and talking some more, and talking some more? Does it ring a bell? Does it sound familiar? And then after half an hour, the person was asking, can I go now? Take the book, give me some money. Oh, no. You told me enough. Because we have given them more than they could handle. You see? When you go on the street, you meet a new person, don't give him the Rajbog plate. It's too much to handle. You give him a cookie, you give him a little sweet, a candy, a smile, a nice little teaser, an appetizer. So that they're like, hey, this is nice, I want more. The goal is that people want more. So, as soon as possible, not initially, not right in the beginning. You don't walk up to people and you just stick the book in their chest or in their face, because that's not polite. Have you seen this people doing?
Yes.
Have you done this yourself? Come on, admit it. Work with me, people. We have all done this. But it's just not sensible. If you walk to the temple and somebody comes up to you and puts something in your face, what is your reaction? What does your mind tell you? Rejecting immediately, right? This person is not sane, this person is not sensible. You don't treat people like that. First, you look at people and you say something, you greet them, and then you introduce the book. But it has to happen after the initial contact. Otherwise, if you start speaking too much and you don't introduce the book, and then all of a sudden at the end, hey, by the way, you know, take this, give me the money. Then the person is like, what? I thought you were a nice guy. I thought you were a nice person. You just had this lovely conversation. And now all of a sudden you bring out the book and you want money? So after the first contact, then present the book. Put the book in their hand. If the book is in your hand, it will stay in your hand. If the book is in the person's hand, it will stay in their hand. Okay? So how to do that? It's very simple. You just have to take it in a regular speed and motion, and you just hand it. Now, you see, his mind is thinking, what's your mind telling you when I hand you this?
I don't know if I want it.
I don't know if I want it. But the hand, what was the hand thinking? I want to grab this. Because the hands want to grab stuff, right? That's why they put all the candies right at the cash counter. Because even though people are not needing all that stuff, because the hands say they need to grab this, so they're taking it and buying it. So, just put the book out and the person will actually take it. What do you do when you put the book out and the person just sits there and just looks with that blank stare, you know, those empty eyes, and they don't respond? What do? You have different options. You can either start, you know, holding them, which is not so nice, or you can just take the book back. And more often than not, when you actually take the book back, what happens? He wants it. Then the hand comes out. Oh, no, don't take it away. I want it. Give me that thing. Right? So you just put it out. He doesn't respond. You just take it back. And then oftentimes the hand comes out. It takes a little practice, and you have to be detached. Okay, you don't want it? All right, you take it back. And the hand doesn't come, I walk on. Remember, right fruits? Catch the right fruits, pick the right fruits. Don't bother about the unripe fruits. Okay? So, but you put the book in their hand, and then you've got to actually make your presentation. But before you make the presentation, you say something nice that the person can agree to. Like books on yoga and meditation. You can write that down. Books on yoga and meditation. Teaches you how to get free from stress. Have you heard of stress before? Yes. Really? But you look very peaceful. You look very spiritual. What's your secret? Oh, you do yoga. Okay. I know it. You see? Books on yoga and meditation teaches you how to get free from stress. Have you heard of stress before? It's a simple mantra. You know, like Hare Krishna mantra? You've heard of Hare Krishna mantra? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. It's 3 words, right? Simple sequence. In a similar way, you make up your own mantras with simple words that you can remember and you can speak blindfolded. If somebody asks you at 1 o'clock in the morning, Nanda, they wake you up in your hut and they ask you, what is this? You say, whoa, you're too fast.
Focusing yoga and meditation teaches you how to get free from stress.
And then the question, have you heard?
Have you heard of stress before?
Very good. So you have to be able to say this automatically, without thinking about it. So it takes a little practice. It takes a little practice to get into this. So you learn your own mantras, but a good way of how to do it is, first, you go out with some expert. You go out with another devotee who has been practicing, and you just watch them. I started Bhakti Sibhushan, I was 15 years old. I was in 9th grade. I was just a kid. I just went out with the devotees and I carried their books. And I was watching and listening. And watching and listening. And in my mind, I was taking notes. And whatever they were saying, I was remembering. And then I started making up my own khichdi, you know, my own masala, my own style. Because you have to do that. You have to feel it. It's got to be your own presentation. And then, some stuff didn't work. So I dropped it, I modified it, and then it started working. So that's the way how things work. You watch, you observe, and then you practice. You apply yourself, and you apply yourself, and you apply yourself. And after a while, Krishna starts empowering you, starts working through you. So, put the book in their hand. There's also something nice to say. Are you from this area? Are you from here or from out of town? Instead of just saying where you're from, you know, there's different ways of how to word things. You can ask or tell people today we're making a special presentation. I like to say we're showing these today to all the nice people. Are you a nice person? And it's kind of a simple, no-brainer. And either they say yes and smile or they say no and smile. But I want them to smile. Because if you get people to smile 2 times at least, they will take the book. Because, hey, you make me happy, come on. It's a boring day. People are living boring lives. Lives of quiet desperation. It's humdrum. Go to work, commute 2 hours to the job, slave for a boss for 8 or 10 hours, commute back home. It's boring. And you meet a person who makes you smile. It changes your day. Oftentimes people say, you know what? I never buy things on the street. Never. But you're a nice guy. I'm going to give you something. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
Like every day, right? Yeah. People tell you that. Because they sense in their heart, Krishna tells them, he's a nice person, take it, give him something. Any questions to approach an opening? Yes. Microphones.
Sometimes after the public family of each other, after why don't you sometimes when you all family can sit and you spend your husband, your children get together. So you get people together. So this how sometimes Muslims.
Very good. Can you, yes. Sometimes he's telling people that, you know, people don't have time for family time and for getting together with friends, but if you have good books to read, you can unite the families and the friends and get together and, you know, together read these books. So this will be a very good opportunity for you, so to speak. Other points or questions? Otherwise we're moving on, because we got 45 minutes to lunch, and we got a lot of ground to cover. Yeah.
So when you're handing them the book, are you actually saying something during the handing? Or you give them the book and then you say something?
No, you just be completely silent and you just go like... No, you gotta say something. You gotta say something. Kramer.
This first point has to be always first eyes contact after the gesture and after the speech. Is it always?
Not always, but it's a general sequence. These are just general guidelines, you know. Sometimes I walk up to people and I say, do you have $5? And you know what? Sometimes people say, yeah, sure, why? You know, yeah, can you give a donation? And they give it. And then I present the book to them, you know. So I do everything the wrong way. I do everything opposite, reverse psychology. But that's later on. Initially, you work with the structure, okay? You work with the framework. After you're used to the framework, then you can freestyle. Then you can do whichever way you want, okay? But that's generally how it works. All right? Okay, we're moving on here. Ready?
You gotta turn it on. I'll turn it off.
This was like when you go person to person, but what about if you go to a university? How you present? Big class, a lot of people.
We'll speak about that tomorrow. Different typical scenarios. This is just general structure now. We're not getting into specific scenarios. So, presentation interaction, asking the right initial questions, particularly those which evoke a positive response. For example, can you read this? Somebody has a microphone? Can you read it?
I'm sure you like to read and learn about it. And it's a question. I'm sure you like to read and learn about this.
About cheese.
Things. Yeah. So just ask people, oh, you look like, I ask especially the younger crowd, when they say like I'm a student or I'm a businessman, when they're a student, I ask them, are you smart? Yeah. I know it, you look like smart. So you think sometimes? You heard that? Do you think sometimes? Yeah. They will say yeah, right? You think? And so many say, I think all the time. I think too much, Or something I don't think at all. But it's just a good way of how to make communication, okay? Write this stuff down. Use this stuff. You don't ask people, do you read books? And the guy's on his phone, tapping away. And no, he's just using phone. He's not reading books. But if you ask him, oh, you look like a thoughtful person, right? You think sometimes, right? So you like to think about things, So I asked them, are you more... I always give people the options. I ask them, are you more intellectual or more spiritual? Like, does it have to feel right or does it have to make sense? You get that? Intellectual and spiritual. Give them these two options. Does it have to feel right? That's spiritual. Or does it have to make sense? That's intellectual. Okay? And then you speak about the mind or brain and heart connection. And that conundrum of why not both? Why not balance? I asked him, you know what the word yoga means? It means balance. It's not about, putting on tight rubber pants and, showing off some postures. It's about finding balance in life. And all of a sudden, everybody's interested in yoga. All of a sudden, people want to know, what is this yoga stuff? But if you just throw out yoga, a lot of people will just like, it's not for me. But if you speak about balance, about how to connect the head and the heart, how to be more emotional and intellectual, some people will tell you, I'm just all heart, I'm all just emotions. But then they say, yeah, but then sometimes your heart cheats you, Your heart is weak and misleads you. Or sometimes your mind is too analytical and radical and it does not really do justice to the situation and be sensitive to the people at hand. So, balance. You got something going on there? Alright, so these are positive questions to ask. What else? Hey, did you ever ask anybody? You look like you're working hard, right? Kind of, yeah. Very few people will disagree. Almost everybody will tell you, I'm working hard. I had one guy in Australia. He was managing a hotel. I told him, it must be hard doing this job. You're really working hard. He said, then I asked him, are you more an intellectual or are you more spiritual? And he said, me? I'm just a drunk. And I said, really? Are you qualified? That's perfect. This is the exact perfect book for you. And he took it and gave a donation just because I appreciated it. But, if you're honest, the people will also be honest. If you try to play games, other people will play games with you. So just be honest. Just be straightforward. Mayapur is turning more and more into a Russian-Indian rugby match. Have you noticed? We have about 60% Indians and about 30% Russians. But I am still rooting for the Chinese, and I'm so happy to see Chinese devotees. Ni hao ma! I really hope that they will win the game, because I like their food much better. And this is just the spies. These are just the first few ants who are coming to check it out. Then they go and they report back, and then they're going to bring everybody. All right? They're going to wipe out the whole place. Yeah, now you're laughing, When I got initiated here in Mayapur in 1986 in the Lotus Park, where the TOVP is standing right now, At my initiation yatya, there was 80 empty seats for Russian devotees who were not present there. 80 of my god brothers and god sisters, who most of them I probably never knew, who could not come. And then later on, in 91, the first flight of devotees came. And now, have you noticed that there's a few Russians around here? A few? And this is just the beginning. Prabhupada went to Moscow in 1971, and Shyama Sundar's wife, she put one Bhagavad Gita and An Easy Journey into his suitcase. And when it fell out at the customs, Shyama Sundar got really anxious, and he thought, they're going to put us in jail, they're going to lock us up, because we brought religious books into the country. But the book fell on the floor, and the pictures who were in the book also fell on the floor, so the custom agent was so embarrassed that he made a mess in front of his superiors, that he just packed up everything, threw it in the suitcase, and said, go, 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 go. And so the first Bhagavad Gita went into Russia in 1971. One young boy, Anatoly, he became initiated by Prabhupada, Ananda Shanti. And now we have 10,000 devotees in Moscow, at least. More than that, I think. Prabhupada was up in Moscow. Is it 100,000? How many devotees in Moscow? A lot. Prabhupada was up in Moscow State University. It's a nice view. And he was looking over the city, and he said, in this city alone, there will be tens of thousands of devotees. How could he be so sure? He just met one boy, Anatoly, who came to his hotel room. He gave one Bhagavad Gita. How could he be so convinced? Because he was completely convinced that this message is potent. These books are potent. If people get just in touch with this message, their lives will change. And now you're witnessing it a few decades later. What is a few decades? You remember initially this class, how it started? How long is Brahma's life? Less than a second. In our human calculation, he lives 311 trillion years. You know how many zeros that is? That's a long time. But from the point of view of eternity, less than a second. So what is 40 years? But we're thinking, another spot. We are thinking, no, I need to see the result now. Right? There is a saying, if you have 1 year time, grow rice. If you have 10 year time, grow coconuts. If you have 100 years time, grow people. Prabhupada wrote these books for the next 10,000 years. That was his vision. If you want to do big things, you have to have a big vision. If your vision is only self-preservation, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then you're going to stay very small. You'll always struggle just to survive. But if you have a big vision and a big heart and an ability to dedicate, to sacrifice, Krishna can empower you unlimitedly. And everyone here sitting in this room can make a difference. Prabhupada was going through Delhi. This is 71. He just got back to India, and ISKCON India hadn't really started yet. There was very few things. Just a couple of devotees, a handful of devotees with him. He was on a train ride from, I think, Haridwar down south, and the train stopped in Delhi. And one well-meaning Indian gentleman came on the train, and you know how it is. They're a little talkative, right? And they start telling Prabhupada about his family and all the nice things here. And he said, why don't you start a center here in Delhi? And Prabhupada looked around the compartment, and he said, Gurudas, Jamuna, you, get off the train. He handed them 50 rupees, and he said, go start a temple. And now you're laughing. You imagine, you're traveling as Prabhupada's servants with Prabhupada. You're moving with the man. And you think, I'm Prabhupada's servant. And he just kicks you off the train with 50 rupees in your hand and says, go start a temple. And you know what? They did it. They did it. Prabhupada sent people to China Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He sent Ramananda Swami to Africa. He sent Harikesh to Russia. He sent people all over the globe. And they went. Why? Because they have faith in the instruction of the spiritual master. And now we have 1,000 centers, we have millions of books, we have millions of devotees, but we're sitting here, sucking our thumb, and thinking, it's not possible. It can't be done. It has already been declared. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. This Sankirtan mission will be successful. Not if, not when. The only question is, are we going to be part of the success or not? That is the only question. And every single one of us has to answer that question themselves. Because the buy-in is our own dedication, it's our own sincerity. That is the price that we have to pay. There are chairs. Vaishnav Seva, can you put your bag down so we can sit?
Can we get more chairs around?
Later on after lunch. So we get into presentation. Are you a hard worker? If you give people a chance to speak about their work, they like it. Huh? How many boys do you supervise? Where's the mic?
11.
Here. Okay, how many boys are you supervising?
11 boys.
Okay, when'd you get up?
2 o'clock.
Is it hard?
Yes.
Okay. Does he like to talk about what he's doing?
Yes.
Yes. Does he feel about what he's doing?
Yes.
It's his life. His heart is into it. Give people a chance to speak about what's dear to their life. They will eat out of your hand. They will worship you. They'll adore you. They'll take your book and give you $50 just because you appreciate them. But if you do not appreciate, if you do not care for people, why would you expect them to care for you and to appreciate you? It's just not sensible. Should we appreciate people? Absolutely. We should see Krishna in every living entity. We should be able to appreciate every person for who they are, as a part and parcel of Krishna. And that irregardless of their job, of their education, of their economic status. Ask people. That's the best. You know, they say in networking, like when you're in a business environment, you know what's the question to ask to break the ice? What do you do for a living? Or what do you do professionally? And 99% of the people will respond. And will start talking about their job. Then you ask them, are you good at it? Do you like your job? Do you like your boss? And you know, you have a little conversation. Is it stressful? And then you introduce the book. Okay? You got to make that connection. But these are good points to talk about. In some cultures, it's appropriate to ask about their, family situation. So find out what the person's area of interest is. How do you do that? How do you find out what a person's interest is? Well, if I go up to you and I say, what are you interested in? Agriculture, okay. How much money do you make? Self-sufficient. Wonderful. Now he's a gentle soul, he's humble, he's a kind-hearted Vaishnav, so he responds. Usually you go up to people and you ask them, what are you interested in? How much money do you make? They're like, mind your own business, get off my planet, right? Leave me alone, So you have to know culturally what's appropriate. In China, you can ask people, what did you eat today? Right?
Yes.
Yes, it's acceptable. People like it. Hey, talk about food. Yeah, it's great. Huh? People start smiling. It's wonderful. Huh? You have to know in your own cultural context what's appropriate to talk about. In America, you can ask people, different things. What do you ask people?
No more. I'm not good at it. I ask them what they're studying, ask them where they're from.
Yeah, what are you studying? What's the subjects that you're studying? Where are you from? Basic stuff.
What do you do?
Just making conversation. And then you introduce the book. So ask appropriate questions. Yes.
What's the limited amount of questions we should ask?
The limited amount of questions.
Because sometimes, people get carried away, they keep asking questions.
Yeah, you can keep asking questions. You can have a list of 30 questions. And you're like, excuse me, I'm only on question number 13 now. It's like a person who goes fishing and you have your big toolbox. And all day long you take out different hooks and different tools and you just... All it takes is one question. All it takes is one thing that you say that makes a connection. That's all that's required. One solid connection. If you see it's not working, you may need another connection. Okay? But once you have that connection, like you tell people, books on yoga and meditation teaches you how to get free from stress. And sometimes you say yoga and people go like, yeah, I do yoga. Then don't continue talking, just stick on yoga. Okay? Once they show interest, they acknowledge, like, the line is pulling. The person is like, yeah, yoga, or stress, or meditation, or Bhagavad Gita. If they're like, yeah, I know this Gita, then immediately, okay, then you have a connection here. Continue on this topic. Don't move on to other topics. Is it clear? As soon as people show interest, you stay on the topic. You don't move to other topics. But if it's not working, the person is not showing interest, then you got to find another point of access to make that connection. One time I took a flight from London to Dublin, and I had a businessman next to me in the airplane, and on his lap, he had his laptop, and he was just busy typing. And I was sitting next to him, and I want to sell him a book, because that's what we do as book distributors, right? I take a flight, I want to give him a book, but he's busy typing. So what do you do when you don't know what to do?
Pray to Krishna.
No. You take prasadam. So I just took out my lunch bag, and I took out samosas and kachoris that the devotees had given me, and I just started eating, and I was very happy because it's really nice prasadam. And after about 5 seconds, the guy asks me, what religion are you? Because London to Dublin, it's very unusual food, samosas, kachoris. So he's a sophisticated businessman. So immediately, smart guy, he asked me, what kind of religion are you? And he bought the book, But what I said was, you want to try? And he's like a businessman, all in a suit and everything. But because I just offered him, the head just grabbed it and he ate it. This is good. And then I was, you know what? This is good, so what about this? And I just gave him the book, and he took the book. Sometimes it doesn't connect. You have to go around and around and around and try something else till it connects. How long? How many questions? Nobody will get upset if you ask them 3 things, but if 3 times they dismiss you, 3 times they say no, 3 times they don't react, let them go, okay? So, 3 tries. As they say in baseball, 3 strikes and you're out, right? 3 out. Okay, next person. So you got 3 tries. Is that good for you? 3 tries. All right. We're moving on. You got to learn how to listen to the person without getting distracted, The art is that you let the other person do the talking, but you ask the questions. And you can write this down in your student handbooks. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. Have you ever been with a policeman or with a border patrol? Huh? Policeman? Sometimes. So, they always ask you questions, right? Where were you? Did you do this? They ask you questions. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. Learn the art of asking the right questions. You can control any conversation. As simple as that. You ask questions, you let them do the talking, you relax, but you stay calmly in control. And you just guide them. You just guide the conversations by asking the right type of questions. So standard mantras are useful for less experienced devotees. When you become more experienced, you need less of structure, and you can be more flexible, more fluid, more innovative, more spontaneous. But initially, it's really good to have a structure, because it helps you to overcome insecurities, inhibitions, shyness, anxiety, depression, neuroses, psychoses, depression. You can overcome all these things just because you have a standard program that you follow. So come up with your own mantras and use them regularly. Use them regularly. Like you're practicing your Hare Krishna mantra, right? Are you all chanting Hare Krishna? Yes. Let me see. By the way, if you see somebody here on campus who has a bead bag, but they don't have a counter, you can know they're KGB, okay? They're Secret Service, CIA, okay? Because they just make a show of being a devotee, but they are not actually serious about chanting rounds. It's just a decoration, you know? They just want to show off. Yeah, I got one of these too. So, after a while, you can increase your mantra repertoire, your spontaneity, you know how to deal with different types of people and mindsets, and Krishna will guide you. Because sometimes it's deceptive. You have people who look very conservative, but they're actually very easygoing and very relaxed. And you have people who look very relaxed and very chill and very like youthful and friendly, but they're super stuck up and super conservative. So you can't always judge a book by its cover. You can't always tell who you've got in front of you. You have to actually interact with them to find out. So this is all basic stuff. It's there in your student handbook on page number 14. Basic skills of book distribution. This is your homework. You can go through this. Sometimes I hear devotees, they speak not very audibly, and people have a hard time hearing them. Or sometimes you have people who scream and shout. Just find an appropriate volume that people are comfortable with. And vary your pitch. Did you know that people who have deeper voices, politicians who speak in deep voices, have a much bigger chance of getting elected than people who speak in high-pitched voices, and it's kind of very high. Now, if you have a voice problem, okay, it's just natural, you have to deal with it. But try to just have some depth, some gravity, and vary your pitch, vary the volume. Sometimes when it's hard to connect with people, try sometimes to speak a little softer. Pause. But don't wait for too long. Because the worst thing for most people, you know what the worst thing for most people is? Silence. They really can't stand silence. That's why if you take away their phones, or there is no connection, or, you know, they get really anxious, they get really freaked out. So, you can write that down in your book. As a general rule, no matter what happens, keep on talking. Now the ladies don't have to write that down. It's natural, right? It's natural in conversation. But for the guys, sometimes it's a little hard. Huh? Any questions so far? Now we're going to, in the afternoon session, we're going to actually show you how to present the Bhagavad Gita. This will happen after lunch. We'll have some fun exercise and do a little how to use the Gita and how to present it. Now we're just going through the steps. So interaction, you talk about a bunch of stuff that you have learned from the Gita. different things such as yoga, karma, reincarnation, meditation, philosophy, spirituality, just stuff, and you just wait and see till the coin drops. At some point the lights go on. Have you noticed? You keep on talking and at one point it goes like bingo, you know? Ha! And then you have to be able to catch that moment. You have to be attentive. And then you speak on that topic and the person will take the book. Because that's what they've been waiting for. Now you're talking to me. This is what I've been looking for. Okay, securing and closing the deal. The money issue. Vaisheshika Prabhu, what he does is he tells people, we don't need the money. Can you say that? Okay, raise your arms like this and say, we don't need the money. You're detached, right? You're detached. But did you know that if you receive spiritual knowledge and you give something in return, by that act, you will invoke the grace of the teachers, which will allow you to deeply enter into the knowledge and explore its secrets, just by this act. So we don't need the money, but we're giving you the opportunity to do good work and to enter deeply into the knowledge. Because, you know, we're monks, we have vows of poverty. Money means nothing to me. Say that. Money means nothing to me. Money means nothing to me. Do you believe it? I mean, getting back to our original point, if we know we're spirit souls, you know, we're eternal, and nobody can hurt us, what is money to us? It's really not that important. But money used in Krishna's service by giving people the opportunity to donate to make spiritual advancement, that is valid, that is good, that is okay. But for my own sake, how much money do you need to eat 2 sandwiches a day? I ask every person on the street, how many hours do you have to work for your 4 chapatis, for your 2 sandwiches a day? 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours? Do you think it's logical, reasonable that you have to work all day for 2 meals? I don't think it's reasonable. That's not culture. In former cultures, one person in a family used to work and everybody would live peacefully. And now, husband is working, wife is working, kids are working, the dog is working, uncle, grandparents, everyone is working. And money is not enough. So I talk about simple things like that people can relate to because it relates to their everyday life. I tell them, okay, you have dreams, you have ideas, and then there is reality. And you know what's between your dream and reality? It's called stress. So you have to adjust things and see it with a realistic type of perspective. Otherwise, stress will tear you apart. And these are things people can relate to because it's, you know, something that they're going through in life. Okay. These are different things you can do. But what I usually tell people is that we're not selling these, we're only asking for a donation. We just want to give people the opportunity to contribute, and we're taking donations, contributions, so that we can give these books to more people. Because if you give this gift of spiritual knowledge, it's the greatest gift that you can give to people. Sometimes people may say, I'm not interested. I say, can you give a donation so I can give a book to somebody who does not have any money? And oftentimes people want to give, you know. They just want to contribute. Then I say, why don't you take the book and you gift it to somebody who you think would appreciate this? And it really resonates, you know. You know what's the greatest gift you can give somebody? Knowledge, and even greater than that, you can give them the opportunity to be a generous person. If you give people the opportunity to be generous, you have given them the greatest gift. I'll tell the story later because we only got 12 minutes left. Then I asked them, If you would buy this in a store, how much would this book cost? Approximately. Roughly $20, yes. But today is your lucky day because we're not selling them. We're only accepting donations. So please try to help out, and then you tell them, look, they cost us $7 to print. You know, most people give 10. Generous people give 20. And then people will easily, spontaneously give, for the most part, if you have done it in a proper way. Some people will say, what about 5? You say 5's cool, that's all right, you know. But if you can throw in another buck or two, then, you know, it'll be great. So don't be attached that people have to give a certain fixed amount. I know in India, in this area in India, you have fixed price, and that's the way how to move. But in the rest of the world, it's mostly donation. And you have to be ready to give it at any cost. At high price, or at low price, or at low price, or medium price. But here you work with fixed price. But for the rest of the world, we have to be more flexible. Because most people don't want to buy a book, they just want to give donation. And donation means as much as they're willing and capable of giving. So you have to adjust to the situation. And you know what? When you're trying to please Krishna, Lakshmi is right there, and she wants to help. Because wherever someone is trying to do service for Krishna, Lakshmi Devi comes. And she says, hey, any seva for me? I would like to help. Because that's her service, that's her position. So if you want to do service for Krishna, Lakshmi will come. But if you want to exploit and enjoy and manipulate, and you think like, oh yeah, I'm going to build my own little empire here, then she'll stay away. Because that's the wrong mentality. Any questions in regards to securing the deal and closing?
I just have a question.
Yes.
I heard that when you handing them the book, and it's better to be quiet at that moment before you receive the money, like say nothing, not to kind of interrupt this transaction. You know.
I didn't understand your
So
question.
when you handle them the book and they open their wallet and they give you the money,
yes.
at this moment it's better like to say nothing, just be that quiet, not to kind of interrupt this.
Depends on the person and on your style. Parmeshwar, your experience?
I could probably average about a third more of a donation at that very moment if I say one sentence. And that's the highest wealth, this is the highest welfare work in the world, we just do the best they can. When you mention it's the highest welfare work in the world, you see people's hands go from the 5 to the 10. It's really that simple. I swear. At least about a third. Just one sentence.
If you're detached, no matter what you say, people will reciprocate. But if you're attached, then, you know, sometimes people have their money out, they have their wallet out. And then, you're attached, so you're like, you start talking. And then at some point they take the wallet, put it back in their pocket and say, no, I don't want it. Have you ever noticed? Yes. So sometimes you just have to be quiet and just accept. Sometimes you can say something, Prema, in the back, and then Tulsa, Oklahoma, right here.
Hare Krishna. When in that moment, when people are taking the money, what I do sometimes is like talk about the different things, like, oh, the weather is like something, talk about the weather, like try to distract from that stressful moment sometimes for people that is to give money. So I talk about something different, and that works. That works.
Okay, where's the second mic?
Here it is.
And you're next.
So occasionally I find that some people, it almost seems like out of entitlement, just start walking away with the book. You know, it doesn't seem like, oh, I really want this, I don't want the donation. But it's more like, oh, you gave me the book, it's in my hand, and I can just take it. In that situation.
Can you understand his predicament? Sometimes people just walk away with the book.
Yes.
So there's different things you can do. In New York, they say, "Oi!" Right? But it's not so nice. But, you know, you can say $10. Who is to be blamed? You did not make it clear to the person that he has to give something. You were attached. You did not really specify. That's why initially, I don't tell people we're passing these out, we're giving these to everybody, but we're showing these today. Showing. I told you, we're showing these today. So you have to know what you're talking about. And you know what? Every day, 2 or 3 people may just walk away with the book. And you will just pray in your heart of hearts that, very good. It's the best thing you could have taken, you know? So you have to just let it go. Otherwise, if you try to, you know what I usually ask them is, are you interested? Are you actually going to read it? Do you want this? And 80% of the time they'll hand it back. They say, no, 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 I don't want it. I'm not interested, you know. So in this way, either way, you'll be okay. But don't get stressed up about it, because there's enough books. Just put them out there. Pray, yeah. She wants to... Yeah. Just we're finishing this point and then she's next.
You know, you don't want to leave anybody with an unfavorable impression. So what I do with that works fabulously, I find, is I just go, you know, if you read that book, front to back, I don't mind you taking it. But if you don't think you read so much, you're going to pull out on Chanting Hare Krishna pamphlet, or Krishna Reservoir pamphlet. Otherwise, I got a 20-page pamphlet. So you lose it 12 cents instead of $2, whatever. And then, you know, at that point, because the people will be upset when you take their power away. Like they grab it back, or you just manipulate them. It's about give them the opportunity. If you read it front to back, it's yours. I don't mind you taking it. But if you don't think you read so much, I got these 20-page pamphlets. And almost everybody just takes them. Or if they're going to really read it, which we want them to take it if they'll read it, it's up to them.
Thank you, Parmeshwar. Very good point. Does that help? Okay, you're next.
Sometimes you get extra money for a book, and what I find is that as they're walking away, I would say, hang on, here, have a look at this book, and you know, you've given me so much of money, why don't you take this as well? Or I give them a book in a local language and say, you know, like a domestic worker, if you give this to her or him, it will make you understand the book that you bought so much better. And it leaves people with a really good impression.
So you give them more. You got that? When people are generous, when people give you a good donation, you just give them a little gift. And people are like, wow. You know?
You cover the cost.
Yeah.
In any event. And there's a little bit extra.
So there is a rule, always give more. Always give more. Huh? Under promise and over fulfill. Always give more. Right? When you serve prasadam, always give a little more. And then the person is like, wow, you know, like these guys are generous. These guys are really giving it, you know. And then they will reciprocate. They will get into this mood.
Yeah, what I've learned also is, you know, I give like a stack of books to people, like 4 books or 2 books, and I add more books. And then I tell them how much books they have in their hand. Okay, there's 4 books, so if you give around 20, it covers the cost. So that way they're like calculating in their head, okay, yeah, each book is $5, 4 books, $20 is a good deal.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll get more into this, how to give more books at once. It was more about the sequence, just to get an idea. Then at the end, encourage people to read the books, give them invitation cards, and if possible, prasadam. This is how to, you know, wrap it up and make it sweet and make them really favorable. Don't just take the money and turn your back and drop them like a hot potato, because that's just not a way how to deal with people. Oftentimes people are like, if you say no, or once the money is being given, and then you just walk away, then they're like, now I know, it's just about business, right? you're not really interested in me. Before you're all talking nice, but now you just walk away. So make sure the person feels satisfied. You know, they may have a question, they may have something. It takes them sometimes a little time, you know, to open up, to actually trust you. So after they have given the money, is a good time to kind of just say something nice and interact in a nice way, so that people feel, yeah, it's not just about some interaction. Remember what we said yesterday about transactional versus transformational experiences? Another line that I always use with people is, nowadays we have so much information, but so little transformation. There's tons of data out there, so many terabytes, but very little wisdom. There's a lot of information, but not much wisdom. These are all things people can kind of relate to. You know, these books are about wisdom. They're about how to improve the quality of our lives.
Hare Krishna. So sometimes when somebody's very favorable and they give a donation, then you give them a, I don't know, just an invitation card or something, then they just kind of, they just look at you and just stare at you afterwards. Because you're thinking like, it's over and you know, they're saying bye, but they're just there staring at you. What, did that happen or what did you do?
Well, you gotta get used to it, you know, you're just so effulgent and blissful, so you just have more and more people staring at you. It gives you an idea how it must feel like being a guru in ISKCON. Have you ever noticed? Yeah. You have a guru and people just stand there? It's a little embarrassing, right? So if you don't like it, don't do it to other people. So, but yeah, you just have to learn how to deal with it in a nice way. Just appreciate them and wish them a nice day. So there's nothing wrong with it. Prem? Mike is in front of you.
You just, a few minutes ago, you said that, you know, you should say to people, you know, I'm interested in money. So, say something like that.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not interested in money. What's the best time to say it? They will give you money?
No. Before, when I speak, before they take out their wallet, you know, when they take out their wallet and you say, I'm not interested in money, then they put it back. And they say, okay, you don't want my money. Okay, fine, then, you know, then keep your thing, you know. No. Initially, when you introduce the topic of money, and you can see people are sometimes a little, you know, tense, they become a little, what, now it's about money time? And you tell them, oh, hey, cool, relax, you know, it's like, it's not about that. Of course, give as much as you can. But I'm not interested in your money. I want to give you the chance to help out. I'm just going to leave you with a short story. I was in Russia, in Siberia, and I met two young boys, and I asked them, how did you become devotees? And they said, we're not going to say. And then later on, they told me in private, they said, you know what, the first book, we stole it from a devotee. They were both thieves, and so one went to distract, and the other went to steal. And then they went home and they read it, and then they came back to the temple, they liked the devotees, they liked the prasadam, and now they're distributing books. And they said, now after 10 years, we're still trying to pay back what we stole. So if somebody wants to steal a book, let them have it. See how far you can run, you know? Krishna is already there waiting, you know, smiling like, hey, you know? Okay, it's time for another story. Anyway, we'll tell you after lunch. It's already time. So, lunch is downstairs. It's the GBC Prasad. I know it's a little more than you expect, so just take as much as you can process so you can still be awake in the afternoon, because we got some interesting interaction. We'll speak about how to present the Bhagavad Gita, our best book, and how to get people to take the Gita. Okay, see you back at 3:30.